Hello? I'll be in Matthew 16. Matthew 16, that is my middle name. Matthew 16. How are you? Doing okay? It was a little rough yesterday. I was watching faces and emotions running high in here. I'm glad we could do a little bit of business together. I had a talk written for today and I threw it away. This morning I sat at my desk. I got to work, sat at my desk, and I didn't want to do that talk, that sermon, that idea that I had, so I wrote a new one. And I don't know how it's going to go. So here we go with something. Because I was looking at you, and as we spent a few days together, I had some thoughts bouncing around, so we'll dive in. And I want to ask you a question, get you talking, just for a minute with each other. So we'll go to Matthew 16 in just a minute, but look around and maybe make eye contact with someone you're comfortable talking to in a second. If it's like a dude that's been creeping on you, don't look at him. Don't do it. And I just want you to share with them. You're going to have to think for a minute. I'm going to give you an awkward 10 or 15 seconds to think and then share. Or you'll know right away. What has been, in your past, one of the more powerful moments or experiences that in that moment or in that experience you thought to yourself, I will never be the same. You can go for it and go real meaningful or roller coaster, whatever it is. But think about it, maybe one or two. If you don't have one, say, I can't think of one. But a moment in which that experience, whatever it was, spiritual, totally silly, whatever it was, you thought to yourself, I'm never going to be the same after this. So go ahead, look back at that person. Give them the awkward 10 seconds of who goes first. Go. Share a little bit. Share it first, maybe start wrapping up, let them get a shot. About 30 seconds. Okay, how many of you came up with one that you shared? Throw your hand up in the air, just wave like you don't care. How many of you couldn't think of one? You couldn't think of one, just sitting there blinking. How many of you ignore the exercise and just talk about, the Republican debate or something, Interest rates. Big announcement today, huh? How about that? Kids are like, we don't know what you're saying, sir. Anybody have one? This is terrifying. To ask a crowd if they want to share anything. I did yesterday, and I'm glad not everybody answered when I asked the crowd for participation, because I'm sure there's some things I probably didn't need to hear. But I'm going to ask you now, calling one person out in particular, does anyone have what they want to share? A moment or an experience in which it was so significant you thought to yourself, this is a life-changing forever and everything. Go. You want to raise your hand if you got one. Everyone's pointing at you, Blue. What you got? Guys, shout it. Meeting your favorite football player. Who's that? Who what? Sweet. That's awesome. I don't know what he said. Favorite football player. It's cool. No teams for you. Yeah. Wow. Learning you're going to be a big brother. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. How old is your little what? Oh, he's 3. Are you still enjoying it? Okay. I have a 3-year-old. Usually not. Right here, Black. Hey, we match. We match. Okay, listen to that. You don't have one? They're just being jerks. Sweet.
Right.
Okay, right here, yes.
Star Wars Force Awakens trailer.
Star Wars Force Awakens trailer. Change your life. Got a big future ahead of you, right? Nothing but way better experiences ahead of you. Anyone else this side of the room? Ladies? No ladies? Yes, ma'am. You led your mom to Jesus? Okay, that's what I heard so far. Wow. That's incredible. Okay, one more, yes. What? The day you met Mr. Brad. That's sweet. Good times. So, I tried to create one of those moments when I was convinced that I wanted to marry Lindsay. I first asked her dad. I wanted to be old school, traditional. I thought it would be sweet, and so I set up they live in Ohio. Mom and dad live in Ohio. Her mom and dad live in Ohio. Sisters there, babies and all that. The family, cousins and all that were there. We're here. She came out for ASU. Was supposed to go back to be, an Ohio human being, and I met her junior year. Fell in love, and then I called her dad, and I said, well, actually, let me tell you the true story. I called her sister and said, hey, I want to fly to Ohio secretly. I want you to pick me up at the airport. I would love if you would drive me to your parents' house. I would love if we would knock on the door and they would open it to Lindsay's boyfriend, and they would be shocked, and then we would sit down and have dinner in which I would ask your mom and dad, specifically your dad, I guess, if that's the old tradition, if I can marry his daughter. So she's like super excited. She's so excited, she goes and tells her parents that plan. I don't know why. So her dad calls me, hey, Ryan, heard about the plan. Maybe we could talk. What's he want to talk about? Why does he want to talk? Calls me, I on the phone ask him, I say, hey, I'd love to marry Lindsay. She is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he says, no. At least, I know, true story. He said, no, at least not yet. And I'm thinking to myself, this was more of like a pleasant formality in my mind. Wasn't asking for permission, sir. She's like old enough, to make this. But I relent and I said, okay, I'll wait. And I wait, and I have to wait quite a while, and I have some time to plan. And eventually, she graduates from ASU, and parents come out for graduation, and long story short, let's speed this up, because we're sitting poolside celebrating. She's actually fallen asleep. It's late, we're just chilling out by the hotel pool. They flew in to celebrate her graduating, and I said, so Carl, how about it? She's graduated. I love her. I want to marry your daughter. Oh, whatever. I don't even remember exactly what I said. And then he looks at me, and he says, well, I guess if that's what you think you're supposed to do. He's looking more for like a yes, can't wait to be your father-in-law. This is going to be great. So reluctantly, he said, sort of, yes. And I said, yes. So I began to dream and to plan how I was going to ask her and create a moment that she would never forget, that would propel us into a marriage of eternal bliss. Never ever argue, never fight, never struggle to understand one another. And it's going to happen because of this moment. So I get on MySpace, and true story, because it's back in the day, 2007. How old were you? Oh dear. 7, 9, 8? Oh, so cute. I was 27, something like that. Thus fulfilling the 4th day of me mentioning my age. This has never happened before. So, I get on, and I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I do this? She's so special, and what do we have going on? Well, we have a song! We have a song! So I'm going to incorporate the song somehow. It was a song by an artist that was a Young Life artist. Young Life?
Yeah!
All right, one dude. Camps. It's an incredible ministry that reaches out to kids that normally wouldn't step foot in a church. My girl was one of them. She's actually a leader at this time in Young Life, and she was not in high school, by the way. She was a leading high school girl. That's a super creepy, different story. Go to jail. I get on and I'm like, that's our jam. It's a song by this guy, Brandon Heath. And he's doing pretty well these days. If you throw on the K-Love, the Air One, or whatever. He's usually got some jams going on there. But back in the day, he was just a camp guy. And I got this idea. And I was like, dude, I wonder if I could fly Brandon Heath in and incorporate him in some way. I wonder if he would be down. And I was like a junior high pastor at the time, so I'm making like $8,000 a year, but I was like, I could figure it out, I could try. So I get on MySpace and I send Brandon Heath a message. I said, Brandon, you don't know me. Here's the deal, I love this girl. Super random message to receive, right, from some dude. And she's been at some camps that you've led at, and one of your songs is actually what we would consider our song. I just had this idea. Would you consider coming into Arizona, flying in, and playing a part in my proposal? I want to ask her to marry me. He writes back, and it turns out that he's actually playing a show in Arizona in July of that year. He says, hey, I'm going to be there anyways. I'm like, sweet, scored the flight. I don't have to pay for that. And I said, dude, and he said, I would love to play a part. And I'm like, oh, snap, like, it's going to happen. I got Brandon Heath to say yes. And so what we plot and plan is this big, beautiful thing that all falls apart, and we try another one. So we recreate our first date. We decide we're going to go to dinner, we're going to go to Kona Grill at Scottsdale Fashion Square, we're going to get the chicken saute because it's unbelievable. Unless you're vegetarian, I'm so sorry that you don't know about the saute. It's so good. And we do that, then we get Starbucks. Back when I would drink Frappuccinos, now they make me sick. And so we get the Frappuccino, we go to Scottsdale Park, this park. In Scottsdale's got this big love statue. We're taking a bunch of pictures, and I'm the sweatiest dude you've ever seen. And so it's July, and I'm like, yes, take a picture. Take a picture. So we have all these pictures that we uploaded from that night, and I've been plotting and planning. And out of the dark, it's night, like 7:30, 8 o'clock. We're about to go see Willy Wonka, because that had just come out, the remix. And here comes this dude out of the dark in the park, and we're just taking photos. And he comes and he's rocking a hat like all the way around Bill, and he's walking and he's holding a guitar. And it's creepy, super dark outside. We're just sitting there by the love statue, appropriately snuggled. And here comes the dude in the dark in the park, and he walks up, and I say to Linz, I wonder if we can stop this guy and take a picture. Maybe he'd take a picture for us. And she's like reluctant because she's scared of everything. And she's like, we don't know who he is. What? Don't Ryan, don't ask him, please. I'm like, but I just want to get a picture of us to, for this moment. And she's like, please don't, Ryan, don't. Sir! And he's so suave, this dude. He walks up, doesn't really look up, just looks up with his eyes, not his face, and he's got the guitar and got the hat. It's dark, it's scary. But I go, sir, hey man, my girl and I were on a date. Would you take a picture of us? Sure, man, I'll do that for you. And Lindsay immediately, discomfort, all the nonverbals are like, what's wrong with this idiot? Why am I dating him? And all creepy. Like she thinks we're about to get shanked. Like there's a dude in the park walking in the dark. Why are you over there? And he comes up and he's got the guitar. He puts the guitar down, starts to reach for the camera, and I go, hey sir, I noticed you have a guitar there. Like I mentioned, we're on a date. Would you mind playing us a song? And Lindsay's looking at me like, you are such a moron. Why? She's got love. Like, what would you think if your boyfriend, stopped some creepy dude in the park and wouldn't even show his face if he'd play a song? So she's frustrated. He puts your camera down, puts the guitar down, flips the guitar case open, pulls the guitar out, all the while she's the most uncomfortable she's ever been. Because what is he going to sing? What song is going to come out of this lunatic's mouth in a second, right? And she's sitting there nervous, and he turns his back to us, puts the strap over, starts to tune, whatever you do with the guitar, he starts to do whatever you do, and he begins to play. Just and Lindsay's sitting there like, God, I cannot believe you, you're such a weirdo, why would you do this? And I'm very weird, that's not normal. starts to sing. He starts to sing a little bit. And she's like, oh, he's a good singer. She's thinking, I'm looking over at her like, she's just like, oh, cool. Well, he's not bad. This isn't the worst thing in the world. And then she begins to realize in her mind, she's blonde, by the way. So it took her a minute. Sorry. Sort of sorry. Sort of. And she, in her mind, she thinks to herself, oh my gosh. And then she says, God bless her, she says, Ryan, that's Brandon Heath. She really thought I didn't know. She thought I had hit the jackpot on Crazy Guy in the Park. And so she's now looking at me going, oh my gosh, that's Brandon Heath. And then she goes, oh, and he's playing our song. And I look at her and I go, I know. Tears, emotion, oh my gosh. Brandon starts singing more, forgets the words to the song, it was hilarious, but I don't know what I'm singing right now, is what he said. And I was like, oh bro, we've got to memorize it, you should. But she begins to weep and to cry, and then all of a sudden paparazzi come from the bushes. All my boys and some friends have been coming out, like camcorders are going, and cameras are snapping, and lighting was brought in, we had lighting, and someone grabbed a towel, was like, get Ryan, help him! And seriously, there's proof online, it's all over. And I look at her, and the song's over, and I ask her, would you please, I was like, begging, be my wife. And she started crying, gave me a big hug. It was beautiful. It was awesome. Brandon would share that story at the concert later that week, whenever, and kind of made us little MySpace famous for an hour. It was like 3 weeks later that we were calling it off. We were done. We were at a wedding expo hating each other. We were there, downtown Phoenix, at the convention center. Billions of vendors were there with dresses and flowers and all sorts of nonsense that you don't need. You should just go get married at the courthouse and spend that money on a car or a house. But we're going to drop 30 grand on a day, whatever that is. And so we're there and we're trying to get all this stuff and we just hate each other. Like we're looking at each other like, why are we doing this? Why are we stepping into this? Why are we going to get married? It turned out there wasn't enough emotion or inertia or power in the proposal, in the moment, to keep us going. And so we said, let's just go home. Let's give this a day, let's figure it out. We got back together the next day, and what you need to know, and she'd be fine with me sharing this, is my wife, although she is the most beautiful woman on the planet, every husband says that, they are wrong. They're right in their own eyes, but man, the girl is just, she walks in the room and you just can't not notice her. She walks in the room and the temperature changes. It's just weird. She is, I don't know why I got her. I'm a youth pastor. God blesses us. That's why right there. You're going to make $30K, but you're going to get a hot girl, right? That's what's happening. But she has struggled her whole life with trust and insecurity. I mean, every girl wants to look like her, and she's terrified of every girl. Or up and down, she has it. Some of you know that fact. It's just, she wrestles, and so we struggled with that. To the point, we got back together the next day, and I looked at her and I said, hey, I'm not breaking up with you because of a lie. A lie that you believe, I'm not breaking up with you because of that. We're going to get through this lie. We're going to get on the other side of this lie. You're going to believe the truth about you and what I think of you, and we're going to be all right. We got married. And I do weddings. This is the longest story ever, I just realized. I do weddings, but I don't really like weddings. I don't like wearing a suit for obvious reasons, but at my wedding was the most just beautiful, unbelievable thing. Like, does anyone have an ugly cry face? I have the ugliest cry face ever, right? She turned the corner, I hadn't seen her yet. She started walking down the aisle, and it was just like, melt! And someone took a picture right then, so like on my Facebook, there's this photo of me like, and We had this beautiful wedding. We washed each other's feet, served one another, and shared vows with one another. And then we were quickly, a week or two or 3 or 4 in, the honeymoon's over, and again, we just hate each other. We've had 8 years of just the craziest marriage ever. People think of pastors' marriages as though they're always perfect. We have had to battle and struggle through things with counseling, with help, over and over and over again. And despite the fact that we had an incredible proposal, an incredible wedding day, a hilarious wedding night, an incredible, awkward, and it should be. So I'll just spare you the details, but I don't know what happened. And so we had an incredible, all these experiences and all this stuff. It turned out they weren't enough. We were in California, living by the beach, 2007, 2008. Right when we got married, I got fired from my church. Good start. It's okay, I would have fired me too. But I got fired, so we ended up in California, and she took her ring off in our apartment. And again, I said, here we go again. If you leave, it's because you left. I'm not leaving, I'm staying. I made vows, and we will not end this because of lies. And she stayed. And I'm just sitting here looking at you all going, I wonder what you shared a minute ago that you were sure would change your life forever. I wonder if you think even Spiritual Emphasis Week last year or this year, maybe next year's, has enough power, enough whoa, enough wow in the moment to change the trajectory of your life forever. And I just frankly don't think so. I don't think there's enough inertia, power, there's nothing I can say, nothing the breakout speakers can say that will change your life forever. Now, there can certainly be a moment where you step into a relationship with Jesus for the first time. Absolutely. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those of us that are following Jesus, trying to figure out how to stay faithful, who are realizing that these experiences are not enough to sustain our faithfulness to Jesus. These camp highs, these one-time things, these big whoa moments, these miracles, they're just not enough. You're going to see that in Peter's life as well. I want you to be, if you haven't been there yet, Matthew 16. This brother's got so many ups and downs in his life. Way too many ups and downs to let them dictate whether or not he's faithful. Matthew chapter 16, I want you to go to verse 13. He's got a good moment. Check this out. It says, now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do the people say that the Son of Man is? And they said, well, some people think that you're John the Baptist. It's weird. Others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, but who do you say that I am? Simon Peter, my boy, replied, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. So he nails it. And Jesus answered him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whoa, a new car. No, heaven. And whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. There's a lot there. And whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. So Peter has a good moment. Peter just had Jesus look at him and go, you nailed it. Perfect. Yes. Blessed. Way to go. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. Whatever you bind down here, you do down here, it's going to affect what happens up there. He's like, whoa! This is beautiful. A beautiful moment. A beautiful moment. It's certainly not enough to sustain it. Because look at verse 21. In the same breath, it feels like. It says in verse 21, from that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. So he gives them the bad news. Jesus goes, hey, at the end of this story, it's going to seem like I'm getting whooped. So I'm going to go to Jerusalem, and they're going to kill me there. I'm going to die. He tells them he's going to be raised, but Peter doesn't like that story. So Peter begins to rebuke Jesus. Peter, in verse 22, took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, far be it from you, Lord. This shall never happen to you. Peter's like, no, that's not the plan. That's not the plan. You can't do that. Far be it from you. So we should take Jesus aside, gives him a little tough love. But he turned and said to Peter, Jesus did, get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. You're the Christ. You're the Messiah. You're him. Blessed are you. Blessed are you. Here's some keys. Get behind me, Satan. Woo! Oh. Woo! Oh. And here comes another word. 17. Go to verse 1. 17. It says, and after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John, his brother. There's Peter. There's James and John. And led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. And his face, Jesus' face, shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. You've heard of this story, right? If you're Peter, you've got bragging rights. You've got emotion. You've got, wow, I've never seen anything like that. Somehow Jesus' physical human face got all glorified up. And Peter's there, and James and John, they get to witness a supernatural miracle. Jesus up on a mountain shows those three, brings them up. This is a mountaintop experience. This is a camp high. This is a moment that Peter would look at and go, this will change my life forever. This is a significant moment. That Satan thing was really a bummer. That was really terrible. And now I'm up here looking at glowing Jesus. This is going to change everything forever. And so what he thinks to himself is, I need to hold on to this. And Peter said to Jesus, Lord, I love his obviousness. It is good that we are here. Lord, it's good that we're here. This is good. This is so great. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here. One for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He was still speaking when, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. A voice from the cloud said, this is my beloved Son, Jesus, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell on their faces and were terrified. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, rise and have no fear. There it is again. When they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. So here's what I want to talk about. You got Pete seeing something incredible. Maybe you've done this. He wants to hold on to that moment so bad that he literally wants to set up a campsite right there at the Transfiguration. He wants to set up tents right there. We should stay a while. We shouldn't go back down where it's like, normal. We should stay here. Up here, you and me, Jesus. And James and John. But you ever have one of those moments that you just wanted it to stay? And you're like, I'm going to build a tent. I'm going to camp on this moment. That's what he wants to do. He wants this experience to sustain him. He wants to build it like a tent on that emotional high. Peter's looking at you just going, if you want, I can build you a house right here. Peter understands. Jesus actually understands that Peter's going to need a lot more than a moment. There's not going to be enough glow in his face to create the kind of change Peter needs. I love those experiences. I love those moments. I love those. I prize those memories and those moments where God has done some sort of epiphanal work in my life where it's just been like, wow, this is incredible. This is so great. I love those memories and I love those stories. But in my faith and in my life, they're never enough to actually lead me to change. I need something more. I want to take you to John 15. John chapter 15 is where Jesus helps us so much with this idea. Those of us that if you think about it long enough, and if you're honest with yourself, depend so much on emotion, like emotional validation, our emotions telling us that this is true and worthwhile. We depend so much on those experiences. I hear every time I speak, if I get a chance to talk to students afterwards, I will always hear one student at least say, I just don't know. I mean, I look around, it's always the same. And I see all these people that seem to be experiencing something that I'm just not. I don't get it. I don't know. God doesn't show up for me. this crazy emotional thing. I'm watching them all, and their hands are up, and I'm not feeling it. To you, I offer John 15, the teachings of Jesus, who, frankly, are so comforting for me. It's really super challenging, because I'm a lot of times one of the people in the room that when everyone else is going crazy, I'm having a quiet, introspective moment, minus a lot of emotion. Just not wired up that way. So I want to show you John 15. Let's go there real fast. John 15, we're going to go 1 through 5. You've heard of this. In the ESV, it's interesting. It says, I am the true, this is Jesus speaking, teaching his boys. I am the true vine. My Father is the vine dresser, gardener. So he's using a metaphor. Every branch in me, he's the vine, so the vine has branches. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he, his Father, takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Let's keep going, we'll come back. Already you are clean because of the word that I've spoken to you. It's cool. Abide, stay, live here, in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. Let's read that again, real fast. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He's explaining the metaphor. I am the vine, and you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. I was in Oregon my sophomore year for, like I said, an hour, and I worked for an organization called Pete's Prune and Trim. Pete's Prune and Trim. And what we did is we would go into people's yards and businesses, and we would climb up in their trees with hacksaws, and we would trim out all of these dead branches that were choking out all of the other ones. So I have this unbelievable epic memory of this incredible storm blowing through, and one day where this tree is bending down, we're pulling it down with rope, pruning away all of these branches on this tree that were actually killing the tree. They were suffocating the tree in a way, you could say. We were pruning it away and removing all of the things, trimming all of the things away that were harming this tree, making it too heavy in some ways. There was various things that I still don't fully understand what the tree is, but I understood what we were doing is we were getting anything out of the way that didn't help this tree survive and thrive. And God does the exact same thing in our life. He says, abide in me, stay here, live here, make your home in me, abide, stay connected. In the same way that a branch has to stay connected to the vine, to the source. You can say to the trunk of the tree. You got to stay connected. You chop it off and you remain disconnected. You can't grow any fruit. This idea of removing things in your life that are killing you is, well, there's a fun word. There's a theological term called mortification. To mortify, some of your parents' Bibles say, mortify the deeds of the flesh. Mortify. Mortify. It sounds scary. Mortify. Mortify. To mortify is to prune, to take those things and to chop them out of your life. Those experiences are great. And I've done a lot of things wrong, y'all. I've done a lot of things wrong. I did one thing right that I can look back on for sure in my walk. When I gave my life to Christ in 2001, September 6, 2001, what a crazy week that was. 5 days before craziness came, I gave my life to Jesus. And those 5 days, actually the first 3, I went back to my house and back to my roommate, and I said, bro, I gotta go. And I immediately began to literally get rid of everything in my life. And here was the phrase that I used that really stuck with me. I went back home and I said, this is just the one thing I can say I did, I think, all right. If it doesn't make me more like Jesus, it has to go. If it doesn't make me more like Jesus, it has to go. And I just started walking around. Does this make me more like Jesus? Does this help me bear fruit, you would say in this sermon? Does this lead me to a life of health and joy and love and peace? Is this making me more kind and patient? If not, it's got to go. And so I was getting rid of things. Well, I was getting rid of some obvious things. I worked at Dillard's, and I had, what's the statute of limitations? 7 years? I'm just wondering if I can say something without going to jail today. When I worked at, not Dillard's, another place, I figured out, I worked in the really fancy, like Kenneth Cole and Perry Ellis and all the, Polo and all that jazz. And I figured out how to, a friend of mine had figured out how to rob them blind. They would take outfits every day, just stealing every single day, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars of clothes. And I did that for years. And so I had closets full of just nothing but brand new clothes. I was in high school and I figured out how to look as good as I possibly can. And I had tons and tons of that stuff. I had watches all over the place. I'd figured out how to return the stuff to other dealers and get gift cards from those dealers and then go buy whatever I wanted. If you use that idea right now, you're going to break my heart. Just realized I'm like totally enabling some kid and it's like, I'm a perpetual thief, and that's a great idea. I went home, got rid of movies, got rid of songs, got rid of everything in my life, and then I looked at my closet, and I said, all that's stolen. It all has to go. And so I gave away every single thing I'd ever stolen. And I literally had 2 shirts, 2 white t-shirts. They are called undershirts. At the end of that experiment, I loaded up all the stuff, took it down to Mill Avenue. There was a place that you could donate your clothes to, and they would give it to the homeless. I was like, I'm trying to do a good deed. Should I give it back to the donor? I don't know what to do with it. So I gave it to the homeless. I felt like the right move. And then I wore 2 white t-shirts with yellow, like armpit stains rocking. For weeks, that's all I had. And like one pair, I don't remember what I had, pants, shorts wise, but I just remember feeling free. I remember feeling super non-fly, but I remember feeling like, oh, it wasn't helping. It was hurting, so I had to go. I just wonder how much work you've done, and I want to encourage you, man. If it doesn't make you more like Jesus, and he's saying the stuff in your life is choking him out and quieting his voice and limiting his potential, it's got to go. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a circle of friendships. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's some sort of addiction. Maybe you would fight that with violence and prune that out of your life and allow him to do the same as you go, I want this so bad. Can I show you something really fast? In 15, let me show you verse 11. These things I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. You understand as I press in a little bit, it's a little bit, whoa. We could use a joke right about now, bro. This is a little intense. That as Jesus presses into these moments, he's fighting for your joy. Like when he tells you that things in your life need to go. There's big picture and small picture here. And the small picture is on a daily basis to be pruning out the things in your life, to be pulling those weeds out of your life that are choking out and silencing the voice of God is the daily task of following Jesus, of abiding in him. And what's at stake is this fruit, this metaphor of fruit that he's talking about. And playing with that metaphor a little bit, I would just say this, that if Jesus isn't, I'm not trying to fear factor here. This is just me saying, hey, if the Lord isn't a part of your daily life, like a part of your regular diet, then bearing fruit is going to be impossible. Galatians tells us, the Apostle Paul goes, the fruit of the Spirit, what grows in the life of a believer, is love. Who wants to become love? It's love. It's joy. Same thing. Peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. That's what's at stake, all those things. And Jesus is going, I want to do that and grow that in you through the power of the Holy Spirit. He wants every day and every moment. And he's worthy of every day and every moment. So right now, there's pushback in your heart. Some of you are like, bro, I go to a Christian high school. I even go to church. I'm at a church. I go to church 5 days a week, and then again, I'm in the band, right? Or you're here, I'm holding a 40-pound Bible for an hour listening to you. What do you want? Gosh, Jesus, you're so demanding. Doesn't he sound a little pushy? Abide in me. Abide, what does that mean? Stay here. Live here. I'm not ready for that kind of commitment, sir. You're asking a bit much, Jesus. I know some people like that. The religious people that go a little too far with their Jesus. It is possible to get a little weird for Jesus. I've seen it, Jesus. There's some people out there, I don't want to be weird for Jesus. He's like, I want all of you. I want your whole life. Hey, ladies. When Jesus says that, it's like, oh, come on. But when an actor in a movie says that, like Pretty Boy in The Notebook, says something like, I want all of you. The whole thing, the mess. Yeah, we're going to fight. That's what we do. We're going to fight. We're going to make up. That's what we do. They get all romantic. I want you. I want the whole mess. And every girl in the room is like, oh, you can have me. I'll marry you. Sweet, right? Like in a romantic comedy, it's totally okay for the pretty boy to tell the girl that he wants every bit of her. I want your whole life. I want to do this. I want to have kids. I want to move. But when God asks the same thing, we're like, whoa. Whoa. A little needy, Jesus. A little much. A little whoa. So now I'm fighting for your joy, because here's the deal. Apart from me, you can't do anything. Not literally anything, because you can do things with your life, but what he's saying here is you won't do anything of eternal value with your life. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Nothing of eternal value. As we close, I want to steer you in the right direction. A verse that's been so freeing for me. Colossians 3, page 1591, if you've got this Bible. Colossians 3. As I ask this question, as we walk away from a dependency on moments and emotion, that's such a tough word for me this morning. Emotion. We walk away from the need, the dependency on my feelings and my relationship with Jesus. As we walk away from the need for constant honeymoon experiences and towards this abiding. In our last few minutes together, I want to free you up. If you're a Christian, you have one job. It's to glorify God with your life. Jesus says you're going to do that by abiding in me, remaining in me, staying connected to me. And then I just wonder what you're going to do next. How many of you already know where you're going to college? Cool? How many of you already know what you're going to do when you're done with college? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many of you already know I'm not going to college? I already know what I'm going to do. When I throw my hat in the air, I already got a thing lined up. Go, 1, 2. How many of you have no clue? And there's some comfort in that. How much courage was there in that moment? I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. How many of you right now you're thinking, I'm 15, bro. Don't need to know. Mom hasn't kicked me out. I'm good. I can live here until I'm 24. My brother did. Right? Someone's freaking out right now. Let me give you a little freedom here. Look what Paul said. Paul, who we would look at and consider a dude that abides. But we would look at him and consider this is a dude that is a professional Christian. Paul, the apostle, Colossians 3 was written to the city of Colossae. He wrote to them on his 10,000-mile missionary journey. So you go, man, that dude's doing it. And then he wrote this to everybody. Verse 17, it says this. Whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Christian, you have one job. Glorify God. How do I glorify God? How do I glorify God in college? How do I glorify God not in college? How do I glorify God in my confusion? How in the world do I leave this place and glorify God in
I need to go to Biola? Do I need to go to a Christian school? Do I need to wear a breadcrumb and fish shirts? Do I need, you ever seen these? These little mockery shirts. We need to wear Christian clothes. Do I need to get enough bumper stickers on the back that everybody driving behind me gets saved? You just follow me to Jesus. What do I got to do? You know what Paul said? And whatever you do. That word, if you have a pen, is worth underlining. And whatever. There's a lot of stuff in whatever you do. Whatever meaning kind of whatever. There's some limits on whatever. Sinful behavior. Everything else fits in whatever you do. In word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus. He just said this, hey, abide in me. Here's what you're going to start to realize. Something makes your heart beat. There's something in here, like someone in the room right now, you got some quirky, weird, niche, passion, love thing for something that nobody else does. You're here and you've got this, I can't stop thinking about, fill in the blank. Something, some passion, maybe let's get common. Everyone today thinks they're a photographer. I'm on Insta. Or maybe you're here and you're going, yeah, all I see is lines. Not many in a gym, but anywhere I walk out, nobody's paying attention, but all I see design, I see lines, I see architecture. I'm supposed to glorify God with my life. How in the world do I glorify God? In architecture. Someone's here and you're like, I'm so into fashion. I can't, you're in a circle, your Bible study, you got someone with you and they're like, I want to be a missionary for Jesus when I grow up. I'm going to join new tribes, I'm going to go to school for 48 years, and then they're going to put me on a plane, put me in the 1040 window in a village with a bunch of people that don't speak my language. I'm going to learn theirs, and I'm going to live there, and I'm going to give my life to the Lord. He'll be my husband, so no boys, I'm married to Jesus. And I'm like, I know those people. The very first girl I ever dated as a Christian was the most Christian human being I've ever seen. She was the grace and peace. How are you? She was super cute, so I dated her, and then I realized, I'm not Christian enough for you. I don't speak your verse. You ever been in a circle with one of them and felt like a total failure? It just felt like, I want to work at the mall. I want to own a pet store. I freaking love cats. I am so passionate about cats. This girl's getting on a plane to who knows where. I want to work with cats. Forever. I want to design jeans. I want to open a daycare. God bless it. Oh. What is it? What do you got? I ask you this, as we close, does it fit within whatever? Most likely. God's wired you up. So I'm going to make you passionate about something. You may not have discovered that yet. You keep praying and you keep leaning into Him. And when you figure out that passion, you go, Lord, how can I use this passion of mine to glorify you? You may not need to put John 3:16 underneath or hidden in like the fabric on the other side that nobody's ever going to see. You can, that's cool. You may not need to put a verse on everything that you do to glorify God. But maybe you could do whatever you do as though it's for the Lord, giving thanks to Him through that. So what would that look like? You take your passion and you align it with your greatest purpose. You don't make your passion your purpose. If cats are your purpose, You swung and missed. But if you can take that passion, whatever that thing is, and align it with your purpose and say, Lord, how can I glorify you in this thing that you've given me, this desire that you've given me to be a blessing to others? I bet you could. You're going to do your thing. You're going to open up your neat, like, blue jean boutique at the mall. And people are going to start coming in, and you're going to make the best possible pants you can. Because you're not going to settle for, like, most of what Christianity creates. When we sort of, can I just go for it in my last 38 seconds here? We create a bunch of crap, and we call it Jesus stuff. Well, what if we unleashed 100, 200, 300, 400 of you and said, go out into culture, abide in Jesus, and then go out and be a blessing on a daily basis to your employees, to your neighbors, to your customers, to your co-workers, to your dorm mates, to those people that you come in contact with on a daily basis. And in those moments, maybe you just make a bunch of money, your blue jeans blow up, and you're the one that sets aside a bunch of that money that you're making. You don't make a fat pile of it, Scrooge McDuck style. You start giving it away to kingdom purposes. And now all of a sudden, your cat store is providing enough money to dig wells in places where people don't know Jesus. And you're employing people, and you're paying them well, and you're treating them kindly. And eventually they get around to this question that they ask when we do this. What is your deal? Guess our time's up. So my friends, the reason a tree bears fruit is to provide for others and meet their needs. Trees aren't eating up their own fruit. They're giving it away and blessing others. And so I pray that this class would bear much fruit today. Let's pray together, and you got lunch. So Father, thank you. Thank you for Jesus inviting us to abide, that we can be connected to you. That's incredible. The creator of the universe is saying, I want you to live, make your home in me, and you will bear much fruit. Give us the courage to allow you to prune out the things in our life that need to go. And then would you, on the other side of that, use us to be an incredible blessing wherever you send us, doing whatever you call us to do for the sake of your name and your renown in the world. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Love you guys.
Hey, can we give Brian a hand, please? Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, in Barnes Hall.